Hello, welcome back to Chit Chat with Chandrika with a new episode. We have a special guest today with us, Mr. Aneesh. Hi, Aneesh. I would like you to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Aneesh Chatrati. I'm a recent graduate from the University of Florida, graduated with a bachelor in nutritional science, and I was on the pre-medical track and now looking to attend medical school next year.
Wonderful. Congratulations, first of all, for your graduation at University of Florida. So, you mentioned that you did your nutrition science, right? So, is that your మీ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అది లేకపోతే చాలా మంది ప్రీమెడ్కి డిఫరెంట్ ట్రాక్స్ తీసుకుంటారు కదా బయాలజీ ఆర్ సంథింగ్ సో వాట్ మేడ్ యూ టు చూస్ న్యూట్రిషన్.
Yeah, so I actually started out as a public health major. I thought that's kind of what I was interested in when I was going into college. But I took a few classes. I realized I didn't really like the kind of zoomed out systems level approach. So I wanted a major that, was a little bit more rigorous in terms of scientific pathways and how nutrients are like absorbed in the body. And so that's kind of what led me to nutritional science. And I really enjoyed that. I learned a lot about, kind of how the food we eat affects our health. And so it was a really interesting major. And I think, as a pre-med, the reason I didn't pick, maybe something a little more traditional like biology is a lot of the times medical schools are looking for students who bring something unique to their class. And so when you have, maybe a major that's a little less common, and you do activities or extracurriculars that are kind of related to that uncommon major, it kind of helps create a cohesive narrative that can help with your medical school application.
వండర్ఫుల్ అనీష్ బికాస్ ఇప్పుడు చాలాసార్లు న్యూస్లో వింటున్నాము మ్యాండేటరీ న్యూట్రిషన్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఫర్ ఆల్ ది ఆస్పైరింగ్ డాక్టర్స్ అని అంటున్నారు సో మీకు ఆల్రెడీ ఫ్యూచర్ విజన్ ఉండింది ఉందే సో ఓవరాల్ రేటింగ్ ఏమంటారు యూఎఫ్లో న్యూట్రిషన్ ప్రోగ్రామ్కి అంటే అండర్ గ్రాడ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్కి బికాస్ ఐ మైట్ మీ రాంగ్ బట్ ఐ సా దెర్ ఈస్ అ హానర్స్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ న్యూట్రిషన్ ఉంది లేకపోతే ఓవరాల్గా అసలు మీ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఏంటి అక్కడ.
Yeah, I think overall the nutrition program is very strong at UF. Um, the nutrition program is in one of the colleges of UF called the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. It's one of the largest colleges at UF. It's very strong. Being located in Florida, UF has a big emphasis on like agriculture. Um, and so there was definitely a lot of investment, I think, that they put into those programs. For example, we had, really expert level teachers. We had very good advisors. And then being in the honors program, they even give you a special advisor within that college whose schedule is a little bit more open. They have kind of longer appointments available.
Wow.
So yeah, I think the experience was really great. I loved my teachers. I loved the curriculum.
Wow.
So yeah, I had a good experience.
Nice. So have you involved any research opportunities there or any అంటే మీరు ప్రోగ్రామ్ అండర్ గ్రాడ్లో కంప్లీట్ చేసేటప్పుడే యువర్ ప్రొఫెసర్స్ అవ్వచ్చు మీ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ అవ్వచ్చు ఎనీ రీసెర్చ్ ఆపర్చునిటీస్ ఉన్నాయా లేకపోతే ఏమైనా క్లినికల్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్కి వాళ్ళు సపోర్ట్ ఉండిందా.
Yeah, so within my college, a lot of the focus was on, nutrition research and research on, crop techniques. But the thing is, even within my college, when I explained that I was, going for that pre-med path, they were very supportive and went out of their way to help me find opportunities that were kind of more relevant to my interests. And so the research I did in undergrad was actually a combination of clinical and research because it was clinical research. We were working with patients.
Wow.
And so I was lucky to get a position in an infectious disease research lab where we were basically interacting with patients, enrolling them in clinical trials, following them through that clinical trial. And then at the very end, we would analyze the data and we would, analyze the data and then see the results. And then if we were lucky, publish a paper. So it was really, really good experience.
So when you mentioned analyze the data, so మీకు కొంచెం ఏమంటారు సాఫ్ట్వేర్ సైడ్ కూడా హ్యాండ్స్ ఆన్ కావాల్సి వస్తుందా.
Yeah, so again, that kind of depends on your research lab. My research lab, we had postgraduate students that were available to do that.
Okay.
So my role was more of like, speaking with patients, enrolling them in studies, doing lab draws. But then some of my friends were definitely more on the data side. So for example, some of like my biomedical engineering friends that were interested in pre-med, were doing some computer modeling and some, higher level data analysis. So really it's up to you and what your interests are. If you're interested in, computer programming, then you can kind of go for that. And if you're not, then you can do what I did and focus more on the patient side of it.
దట్స్ గుడ్. సో మీరు అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఎంకాట్ ప్రిపరేషన్ ఏ ఇయర్, విచ్ ఇయర్ యూ స్టార్ట్, లైక్ ఇన్ యువర్ జూనియర్ ఇయర్ ఆర్ సీనియర్ ఇయర్ ఆర్ ఆఫ్టర్ కంప్లీషన్ ఆఫ్ గ్రాడ్యుయేషన్? బికాస్ what I heard from you, because you have clinical experience, research experience on top of your coursework and all these things, what's your advice on the aspiring students ఇప్పుడు? When do they have to start preparing for the MCAT? అంటే ఎంత టైం ఫ్రేమ్ కావాల్సి వస్తుంది దానికి డెడికేటెడ్గా?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the most challenging parts of the pre-med journey is finding time to study for the MCAT. And so what I've kind of learned is it really depends whether or not you're planning on taking a gap year or not. I decided to take a gap year, and so my timeline was a little bit more extended. And so I started studying for my MCAT in my junior year spring semester. So that was January of my junior year I started studying. And I spent, about 3 months or so basically reviewing all the content. And this was also while I was taking classes. And so I didn't have as much time. I was taking classes, still involved in all my school clubs, doing my research. And so definitely it was, not as much focus on studying. And then where I was really able to focus was during the summer. I was just taking one class. I mostly cut out a lot of my involvements other than my research. And so during the summer, from May to July, I was able to, study 6 to 8 hours a day, for 5 to 6 days a week, and really got a lot of work done then. And then I ended up taking my MCAT in my July of my junior year.
Okay.
So I would say, if you're really studying hard and you don't have, much other commitments, maybe 3 to 4 months would be an ideal amount of time. But on the other hand, if you're kind of studying while also balancing schoolwork and job and, extracurriculars, then maybe a longer 5 to 6 month study plan would be better.
ఓకే. సో మీరు ఈ ప్రిపరేషన్ అప్పుడే మీరు జాబ్ కూడా చేస్తున్నారు కదా?
Yes, yeah.
ఓకే. ఓకే. సో నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్, అండర్ గ్రాడ్కి ఈజ్ ఎనీ అంటే స్కూల్ రేటింగ్స్ కానీ, లేదా ఇప్పుడు అంటే నాకు ఇంజనీరింగ్ సైడ్ ఇప్పుడు టాప్ కాలేజెస్ అయితే మీరు అవుట్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్కి వెళ్ళాలి అట్లా ఉంటుంది కదా. అండర్ గ్రాడ్కి డూ వీ రియల్లీ నీడ్ టు గో అవుట్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్? అంటే మనకి బ్రైట్ ఫ్యూచర్స్ ఉంటుంది ఇన్ స్టేట్, చాలా అంటే ఎకనామికల్ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ పెడితే ఇన్ స్టేట్ ఈజ్ బెటర్. బట్ rating wise, do you recommend like going out of state for undergrad?
I think again that kind of is a little bit unique to everyone's situation, but as a general rule of thumb, I would say if there's a good college that's in state for you and it's a good deal for you, whether that's Florida, we have bright futures. I would say going in state is probably the best option for medical specifically. Because medical schools, honestly, they don't care very much where you went to undergrad. Maybe if you went to Harvard versus, a smaller school, they'll care like a little bit, but in the medical side, what matters more is your GPA, your MCAT, and your extracurriculars. And, you can achieve all of those things. You can achieve a high GPA, a high MCAT, going to any school. So I would say staying in state, finding a good university that's cost effective, is definitely what I would recommend, just because medical school is very expensive. And, most people are probably going to have to take out, a couple $100,000 of debt for medical school. And so when you add on undergraduate debt, it really starts to become, not as good of a financial outlook. So I would say definitely going to the, most cost effective but still good school you can is probably the best option.
Thank you, Aneesh. సో నా నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్, ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఎంకాట్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత ఇంటర్వ్యూ ప్రాసెస్ అవన్నీ ఉంటాయి కదా. సో ఆ టైం ఫ్రేమ్ ఎంత టైం ఉంటుంది? మీ ఎంకాట్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత మీ కాలేజెస్కి అప్లై చేసుకోవటము, ఆ ఇంటర్వ్యూ ప్రాసెస్ అదంతా ఒక సెమిస్టర్ టైం ఉంటుందా?
Yeah. So I took my MCAT in July 2024. I took a little break from July 24 to December 2024. And then January 2025 is when I started, thinking about, okay, what am I going to write for my personal statement? What am I going to write for my activities? How am I going to get my letters of recommendation? And so kind of that spring semester of my senior year, because I was taking a gap year, was when I really started, putting my application together, having people review my writing, and then for the interview process, that probably starts, if you apply in May, it'll probably start in July to August is when you start getting those interviews.
Okay. So you mentioned about the recommendations. So these recommendations has to come from your professors, right?
Yes, yeah. So each school has slightly different requirements, but as a general rule of thumb, you should have 2 letters of recommendation from science professors. So from like your biology, chemistry, physics teacher, 1 letter of recommendation from another professor. So for me, I got one from my nutritional science professor, and then it's also great to have a letter of recommendation from a physician. So for me, that was my investigator I worked with on my research, and then my physician I worked with as a scribe. And then if you can get another letter of rec from a volunteer coordinator or maybe like a school club, just someone that knows you well and can speak about your character, that's also very helpful. So usually I would say about 5 to 6 letters of recommendation is kind of the sweet spot to aim for.
Okay. సో ఇదంతా ఈ రికమెండేషన్ లెటర్స్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఉండాలంటే ముందు నుంచే ఆ కనెక్షన్స్ అన్నీ కూడాను వాళ్ళతో చాలా అంటే మెయింటైన్ చేయాలి. ఆన్ మీకు కావాల్సిన టైం ఫ్రేమ్లో వాళ్ళు మీకు రాసి ఇచ్చేయాలి ఇవన్నీ కూడా. సో ఇట్స్ లెంతీ ప్రాసెస్ ఇదంతా.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very you don't want to be the kid that you've never talked to your professor and then May you're asking them, hey, can I get a letter of rec? So I think definitely I knew a lot of the professors I asked from like my freshman year and like kept up a relationship with them. And I think, if you're able to do that, if you're able to be like a teacher's assistant for them, that's very helpful. Then you get to see them on a more regular basis. So yeah, I think just maintaining that connection for a long period of time will help get a stronger letter of recommendation.
Okay. థ్యాంక్ యూ. ఎందుకంటే ఇది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. చాలా మంది ఇది మిస్ అవుతారు. ఇది అంటే మనం బాగా చదువుకుంటున్నాం, జీపీఏ వస్తుంది అని ఫోకస్డ్గా ఉంటారు, బట్ ఎక్కడో ఈ కనెక్షన్స్ మిస్ అవటం, లాస్ట్ మినిట్లో రికమెండేషన్స్కి స్ట్రగుల్ అవుతారు. సో నౌ యూ ఆర్ రెడీ ఫర్ యువర్ గ్రాడ్ స్కూల్.
Yes.
So did you decide where you want to go?
Not completely yet. So now I'm deciding between UF, which is in-state, and then Northwestern, which is out of state. So again, still need to visit both schools and figure out which one I like. But then, yeah, I'll probably have to decide by April.
That's wonderful. So you still have some time now.
Yeah.
So to figure it out. So do you want to be in state or like నీ ఫస్ట్ ప్రిఫరెన్స్ నువ్వు ఇన్ స్టేట్ తీసుకుంటావా లేకపోతే అవుట్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్ అని అనిపిస్తుంది రైట్ నౌ ఇప్పుడు ఈ మూమెంట్?
Yeah, I think right now maybe out of state just because I've been in Florida for a long time. So it would be nice to experience something new. But yeah, definitely, still have to weigh cost and everything. But I think, if you ask me just based on instinct, I'd probably say out of state. Yeah.
So did you visited Chicago before?
Yeah. I went last year, going again in like a month actually they have like a second look program. So I'm going to go then. Check out the school.
ఏ టైం ఫ్రేమ్లో వెళ్ళారు? వింటర్లో వెళ్ళారా? పీక్ వింటర్లో వెళ్ళారా?
No. I would never go then. We went in April. It was much nicer.
Okay. సో ఇప్పుడు గ్రాడ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్లో లెట్స్ సే యూ విచ్ ఎవర్ ఇన్ స్టేట్ ఆర్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్ వాట్ ఎవర్ యువర్ ఫైనల్ డెసిషన్ ఈస్, మీకు గ్రాడ్ లెవెల్లో ఉన్నప్పుడు ఇప్పుడు అంటే నాకు అసలు ఐడియా లేదు ఈ మెడికల్ సైడ్. అప్పుడు జనరల్గా అందరికీ సేమ్ చదువుకుంటారు, అంటే వాట్ ఎవర్ ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ కార్డియాలజిస్ట్, ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు బి ఎ రేడియాలజిస్ట్ ఆర్ ఇఫ్ ఆన్కాలజిస్ట్, గ్రాడ్ లెవెల్ అయితే ఇట్స్ కామన్ కదా అందరికీ.
Yeah. The first 3 years of medical school, honestly, the curriculum is very standardized. Everyone does the same thing. And then maybe in the 4th year, there's a little bit more customizability where if you're going into cardiology, you can do like an elective cardiology rotation, or if you want to, do EM, you can do an elective EM rotation. But yeah, generally, for the most part, everyone does the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. So, మళ్ళీ రెసిడెన్సీకి ఆఫ్టర్ గ్రాడ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ మీ కాలేజ్ వల్ల మ్యాచ్ చేస్తారా, లేకపోతే అప్పుడు స్టెప్ 2 ఎగ్జామ్ ఏదో ఉంటుందని విన్నాను, అది మీరు తీసుకున్న దాన్ని బట్టి మ్యాచ్ చేస్తారా?
Yeah, I think step 2 matters a lot. So definitely, it's a combination of multiple factors, like where you went to medical school, what your step 2 score was, how much research you have. So yeah, definitely, it's almost like you're applying to graduate school again. You have to build up your resume again during medical school.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very similar process.
Okay. So it's a టోటల్ ఎన్ని ఇయర్స్ డెడికేషన్? ఇప్పుడు మీరు సర్జన్ అయితే మోర్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ఇయర్స్ కదా రెసిడెన్సీకి. సో టోటల్గా 4 + 4 8 ఇఫ్ యూ టేక్ ఎ గ్యాప్ ఇయర్ 1 year 9, దెన్ రెసిడెన్సీ మినిమం 3 years ఉంటుందేమో కదా.
Yep.
సర్జన్ అయితే చెప్పలేము, 5 అవ్వచ్చు 7 years
Yeah.
అవ్వచ్చు. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ టోటల్ ఆఫ్ 15 years.
Yeah.
వావ్,
It's a very long
వండర్ఫుల్
road.
వండర్ఫుల్. సో ఓకే, నేను నా నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్స్ కొంచెం ఇంకా స్టడీస్ నుంచి పక్కకు వచ్చి జనరల్ క్వశ్చన్స్ అడుగుదాం అనుకుంటున్నా. సో ఇదంతా నాకు చాలా లెంతీ స్ట్రెస్ఫుల్ ప్రాసెస్ ఇదంతా కూడా మెడికల్ అనేది అనిపిస్తుంది. సో మీరు ఎలా అన్వైండ్ అవుతారు? హౌ యూ అంటే అదర్ దెన్ స్టడీస్ వాట్ అదర్ యాక్టివిటీస్ కానీ, అంటే మీకు టైం ఉంటుందా అసలు?
Yeah, definitely. I always had time to enjoy myself in college. I loved playing pickleball. That was a big thing. Me and my friends would play pickleball, 3 to 4 times per week. I traveled a lot in college, went all over the country, visited friends in different colleges, did some skiing, all kinds of stuff. So, even though it is tough, I think there's definitely periods of time where you're less busy and you're definitely able to still have fun and enjoy yourself. I think it's basically all just about, knowing when you need to study harder and knowing when you can take a break. Obviously the week before a test, I would, not hang out with friends as often. I'd be at the library most of the time. But then, the weekend after the test, of course, I'm gonna travel back to Jack's, play some pickleball. So definitely just having a good sense of your time and your responsibilities at that time.
సో ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ రియల్లీ ప్యాషనెట్ అబౌట్ సంథింగ్, ఇవన్నీ మ్యాటర్ కాదు. మనం యు నో హౌ టు బ్యాలెన్స్ ద టైం కదా.
Yeah.
సింపుల్ యాజ్ సెస్ దట్. యా, దట్స్ వండర్ఫుల్ టు నో. సో ఇంకా ఇప్పుడు స్టూడెంట్స్ ఐబీ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్లో ఉంటున్నారు, లేకపోతే కొంతమంది ఏపీ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ అడ్వాన్స్ క్లాసెస్లో ఉంటున్నారు కదా. సో వాళ్ళకి మీరు ఇచ్చే అడ్వైస్ ఏంటి?
Yeah, I would say if you want to do medicine, I would say, something that you can do while you're in high school is start thinking about, what are you interested in within medicine? Of course, you're interested in medicine, but what are you passionate about within medicine? So for me, I was passionate about preventative medicine and using, nutrition and exercise as tools to help people stay healthier. And so, when you think about it, when you think about your own experiences with healthcare and your own experiences, with doctors, you think about what's important to you. And then when you go into college, you can kind of focus your activities around your specific passion. And that'll really make you a strong medical school candidate. And even in high school, you can start, exploring these passions, whether that's, if you want to shadow a specific kind of doctor that specialty you think you might be interested in. Or, even reaching out to people for research. I think nowadays a lot of high schoolers doing research. So, I think it's never too early to start getting involved and start thinking about what you want to do.
థ్యాంక్స్ అగైన్ అనీష్. చాలా వండర్ఫుల్ ఇన్సైట్స్ ఇచ్చారు, అంటే మీ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ షేర్ చేశారు. టోటల్ జర్నీ అంతా మాకు అంటే షార్ట్ టైంలో బాగా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశారు అన్నీ కూడాను. ఐ హోప్ దిస్ హెల్ప్స్ ఎ లాట్ ఫర్ మెనీ స్టూడెంట్స్ హు ఆర్ ఆస్పైరింగ్ టు చూస్ ద మెడికల్ ఫీల్డ్. And if you have any questions and anything, please comment, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you.
Bye everyone.